Hello, in this Brett's equity diagrams I'm going to discuss the three certainties which come from Knight and Knight. They are intention, object and subject matter. I won't go into too much depth on subject matter because I want to focus on intention and objects, and I also want to keep the video quite short. To create a valid express trust, there must be certainty of intention, certainty of objects, and certainty of subject matter. I go through the certainties in this order because the settlor's intentions determine the test for objects, and I'll explain that now. So if the settlor intended to create a trust, there is one of two types of tests for objects, but if the settlor intended to create a power, there is another test for objects. So if the settlor used mandatory language and the trustee must distribute the trust property, the subject matter, the test for objects is either a complete list test or the is or is not test. So if the settlor intended to create a fixed trust, there must be a complete list of all the beneficiaries. And this is because if the trustee fails to distribute the property, the court can equally divide the property between the beneficiaries because equity is equality, unless there are other instructions. If, however, the trustee intended to create a discretionary trust, which is still mandatory, so the trustee must still distribute the property, the trustee decides who to give the property to from the class of beneficiaries. So it must be said with certainty that any given beneficiary or any given potential beneficiary is or is not within the class of objects. And if it can be said with certainty, the discretionary trust passes the certainty of objects test. And this test is from McPhail and Dalton. If, however, the trustee intended to create a power, the settlor intended to create a power and gave the trustee the power to decide among a list of objects or among potential beneficiaries who to give property to, the test for the certainty of objects is there is an is or is not test. And this comes from, for powers, Regal-Benkian. So the settlor's intentions determine the test for objects. If the settlor intended to create a trust, a fixed trust, then the test for objects is that there must be a complete list of all the objects or all the beneficiaries. If the settlor intended to create a trust, a discretionary trust, the test for objects is there is or is not test from McPhail, and so it must be said with certainty whether any given postulant is or is not within the class of beneficiaries. If, however, the settlor intended to create a power, the test is still there is or is not test. It must be said with certainty whether any given postulant is within the scope of the power or not within the scope of the power, and the test there comes from Regal-Benkian. Certainty of subject matter is simply a requirement that the subject matter, the property of the trust, is certain. So the trustee must know which property they're entitled to give away to beneficiaries. I hope this helps. Thank you for listening.